This recipe is proudly brought to you by Malaysia Kitchen.
Malaysia is made up of many different cuisines. Some include Malay, Chinese and Indian, to name a few. I've actually been to Malaysia and the food is just spectacular because of its diversity. And I'm going to show you one of my favourite curries from Malaysia. It's a beef curry and I'm going to be using some rendang paste and, interestingly enough, adding some eggplant. It's a really rich and robust curry. Now, the beef that I'm using is chuck steak. This is going to slowly cook and fall apart and stay moist. Before we get onto that, I've got a big pan here and I'm going to add some oil. We want about 3 or 4 tablespoons of vegetable oil here. We want to heat that up and we're going to seal off our eggplant and we're just going to cut it into big cubes around the same size as our beef. So we'll just gather it together. You don't need to salt it at all, and then cut that into big chunks. Now that goes straight into the oil and we want to cook it until it's really golden brown, and then we're going to add it to the curry once it's cooked. Because eggplant's like a sponge, it does absorb a lot of oil, so when it's hot it does seal it nicely and you don't need to add a lot of oil. So just give it a toss and we'll just keep an eye on that and we can get on to our beef. We're going to add a whole jar, about 185 grams of rendang curry paste here. Now the rendang traditionally has cloves in it, garlic, ginger, galangal. I mean, there's so many different things. So when you are going to make this, you can either make your own paste or get a nice store-bought one. So the whole jar goes in, and then with another spoon, we're just going to mix it. Now it looks quite dry, but this is just to marinate at this stage. We're going to be adding coconut milk when we're cooking it. Now ideally you want to leave this overnight so that meat really absorbs some of those beautiful flavours, and I have one that I've marinated overnight. The smell is so good, it's just delicious. It really does make a difference. Now let's have a look at this eggplant. Beautiful, lovely and golden brown, so it's semi-cooked. So let's just take it out of our sauté pan here, back on the heat with a little bit of oil again. And so 1 onion finely sliced. I like to not dice this, I want to see the texture of the onion at the end. So we'll get some colour on that. Now I did say there is some galangal in the paste, but I love to add extra galangal because it tastes so nice. It's crossed between ginger and turmeric and it's got such a beautiful flavour. It's a bit woody, so just be very careful when you are slicing it. I just need about 3 slices of it, then we can take it out at the end. That's going to go in with our onions, along with 2 cloves of garlic. Again, we're just accentuating the flavours that are already in the paste. So just a rough slice of those. In they go with a cinnamon stick. So give that a few minutes until it colours up nicely, and then we can start adding the beef. We want to cook that for a further 4 minutes before we get on to the next stage. Now, once we've got a little bit of colour on that beef, we can add 270 millilitres of coconut milk. And we'll try to get as much of that out as possible. We'll give that a stir. And at this stage, I'm going to add ½ a cup of water. Now, it seems like a lot of liquid, but this liquid is going to evaporate during the cooking process. So this cooks for about 2 hours with the lid on. And about 30 minutes before it's finished cooking, I'm going to return the eggplant. So I'm going to get onto the topping now. I love the addition of coconut. It's actually quite classic, but I'm going to spice it up a little bit with some chili powder. We need to toast this to extract as much flavour as we can. So in a dry, clean pan, just heat that up. We'll add a few good handfuls of desiccated coconut, and then we're just going to constantly toss it until it's golden brown, and then I can add the chili powder. Now this curry is almost cooked. You can see how all that sauce is thickened up and it's reduced nicely. That just needs a few more minutes, which gives me enough time to finish my topping. This is the colour we're looking for when you're toasting off that coconut. You want it to be a really deep golden colour. Now just to spice it up, a touch of chili powder. I'm adding just a small amount because I don't like it to be too spicy. We'll mix that in. Also, some purple shallots here. We're just going to slice one way and then dice. So just cut that straight down the centre. These are huge, so I might just use half. These are quite mild. It's got a little sweetness to them. So I prefer to use them for this garnish because it is going to be served raw. So let's gather that up into our coconut. And a touch of kaffir lime leaf. Now, roll it up as tight as you can get it, just like a cigar. And we want to chiffonade it, which means we just want to finely slice it. Now, I'm just going to use a very small amount of this. It's quite strong, and then we'll add that. This smells so good. It's almost like a sambal. It's a really nice addition to finish off this curry. Last but not least, a little bit of cucumber. And I remember going to Malaysia and having this always on the side. It just cleanses the palate. So skin and all. And then we're just going to dice that up. All right, curry goes off. Let's have a look. Oh, that smells so good. Now you can see that the oil has come to the surface here. That's totally normal with a beef curry like this. This is actually called a dry beef curry because it's not completely saucy. And that meat's become really soft and tender. We're going to place this on one side of the plate. I'm going to add my cucumbers to the side and a sprinkling of our coconut on top. One little cheek of lime just to squeeze over the top. That is a Malaysian-inspired curry, sort of like a rendang curry, but because I've added that eggplant, I've turned it into my style. I love this curry, and don't forget, add a little bit of rice on the side.